Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk to you about 10 tips for overcoming the fear of driving. If you have a fear of driving, if you are afraid of driving, then this is definitely the video for you, because I'll be going over 10 easy, simple tips that will help you overcome that fear. Now let's get right to it. Tip number 1 is to start slow and work your way up. You have to think about driving like a ladder. Now you don't start on the top of the ladder. You start on the ground and then you work your way onto the first rung of the ladder, then the second rung, and so forth until you reach the peak of the ladder, which is the top. Think about the peak of the ladder as the peak of your driving skill and the peak of you being comfortable with driving. And think about where you are now as on the ground. You need to start off with the first rung. If you have a fear of driving, if you have a general fear of driving, of just getting behind that wheel and driving a vehicle, then you have to start off slowly. And to start off, I would say the first step is just in your mind, get into a car and start it, okay? Then the second step might be to actually get into a car and start the vehicle. Third step might be just drive in an empty parking lot very, very slowly. Like just release the brake pedal and press down on the brake pedal. Like you have to start slowly and work your way up slowly, okay? Start at the bottom of that ladder and work your way up. Tip number 2 is to realize that driving is actually very safe. If you look at the statistics of drivers, okay, it's actually a really safe thing to do. And you should definitely research the statistics, and think about them, not in terms of, in a negative way, but in a positive way. Driving and getting behind the wheel is actually a very safe thing to do. And that actually leads me into tip number 3, which is that being a defensive driver can actually increase safety. So not only is driving safe in itself, but by being a defensive driver, you can actually substantially increase your level of safety as a driver. Now, defensive driving skills are actually not the easiest to master, and that's why not many people can say that they are a successful defensive driver. But what I recommend that you do is do some research on defensive driving skills and defensive driving strategies. Now you can go and take a full-blown defensive driving course locally in real life. You can do some research on videos on YouTube. You can search the web. You can do whatever you need to do, but learn to be a defensive driver, because by being a defensive driver, you put yourself on the defense as opposed to the offense, which allows you to be in a much safer position for yourself and all the cars around you as well. So tip number 3, once again, is that learn to be a defensive driver, because defensive driving is actually much safer than offensive driving. Okay? And tip number 2, just to reiterate, was that driving is actually fairly and very safe. Okay? You just have to do some research to look at some statistics and so forth. Tip number 4 is learn the controls of the vehicle while stationary. Now, so many people get their license, they start driving, and they develop a fear of driving because they have a scary situation where they're trying to adjust the climate control, for instance, and they almost get into an accident, and that leads them to having a fear of driving. Even if you have not developed a fear of driving, but you just have it before you've even got your license, you should learn the controls of the car while stationary. Put the car in park in a driveway, not even in a parking lot, in a driveway where you know that there's going to be absolutely no traffic and no distractions, and learn every single thing about the car. Take out the manual, the car manual, and learn every single thing, how to operate everything. Get familiar with it before you even think about getting behind the wheel on the street or driving and touching those controls. It will allow you to feel safer and feel more comfortable, which will therefore start to eliminate the fear of driving. Tip number 5 is that driving an automatic car actually might reduce the fear. Now, it depends on the type of fear of driving that you have. Some people have a fear of driving on the highway, and other people have a fear of driving just in general, getting behind the wheel. Some people have a fear of driving on a one-way street, a fear of parallel parking a car. There are all sorts of fears that are associated with driving, but all that I can say is this: driving an automatic car means that you have fewer things to think about other than driving. When you drive a manual car, you have to think about driving and maneuvering and steering and traffic, as well as shifting and clutch control and clutch and gas balance and so forth. But when you drive an automatic car, you remove all of that extra manual stuff. You don't have to shift gears. You don't have to use a clutch. You don't have to think about which gear to be in, upshift, downshift, rev match, downshift, all of that extra stuff you don't have to think about. So with that being said, driving an automatic car might reduce that fear. Even if it only reduces it ever so slightly, driving an automatic car can help you get over the fear of driving. Tip number 6 is to start with someone beside you. I would recommend starting driving, okay, with whether you don't have your license, like whether you just got your learner's permit now or you have your full-blown license, okay? If you want to get over the fear of driving, start with someone beside you that is a relaxed, easygoing person that is also a good driver themselves. You don't want to get someone that's a great driver, but that's going to be, telling you and screaming at you and getting you nervous. That's not what you need in your situation if you want to overcome the fear of driving. What you need is a person that is a good driver so they know the driving skills, a good explainer so they can help you, and also someone that's just generally like a very relaxed person. And maybe get them like on a Sunday, on a day that they're extra relaxed. You want to catch them on a day that they're the most relaxed, without traffic, and try and get everything working in your favor and start driving with someone beside you. Start overcoming your fear with someone beside you. You're not in this alone. I'm sure you have lots of people that are willing to help you get through this. Tip number 7 is to take driving lessons. Now, part of your fear of driving, or anyone that has a fear of driving, part of it might be because you're not comfortable doing certain driving techniques. Maybe it's parallel parking, maybe it's staying centered in the lane, maybe it is speed control, maybe it's making left-hand turns, at a traffic intersection. Whatever it is, taking driving lessons will help you feel more comfortable with your own driving skills, which will therefore allow you to start taking more steps on that ladder to overcome the fear of driving. Tip number 8 is to eliminate distractions, okay? If you're scared of driving, if you have a fear of driving or one aspect of driving, one of the worst things that you can do is have the music blasting, have your phone on ring, have your phone, distracting you, looking beside you at it lighting up, anything like that. Having 4 other passengers in the car screaming and, singing and stuff like that. Eliminate distractions. It will help you focus on overcoming your fear. Tip number 9 is do what makes you comfortable. So you want to make sure that when you start to overcome your fear of driving, you want to build some confidence. So do what makes you comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable parallel parking and you feel really comfortable forward parking, then by all means, forward park. Continually forward park in parking spots and build that confidence until you feel like, wow, I'm actually a great driver. I don't know why I have this fear of driving. Which leads me to tip number 10, which is kind of contradictory to tip number 9, but it is what you need to work your way up to. Tip number 10 is once you've done what makes you comfortable, get out of your comfort zone. You want to go ahead and practice those weaker skills because you've built the confidence by practicing your stronger skills, but then you still have these weaker skills that allow you to partially, or they contribute to your fear of driving. So by working on the weaker skills and making them stronger, you are going to truly overcome that fear. So take on that growth mindset and get out of that comfort zone and work on those weaker skills. And that's basically it. In this video, I've gone over 10 tips for overcoming the fear of driving. If you have a fear of driving, if you know someone that has a fear of driving, this video will be helpful for you or them. Please be sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. What are some other tips for overcoming a fear of driving? Let me know down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.